Hey, welcome to People Think About It. We're back again. We're back again. We're here with Dominique, Dorshell, and also me as your host, Lamar. We're here. We're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about some blended families. You know, how do you get along? How do you make it work when there's a blended family? You know, whether it's brothers, sisters, mothers, father, daughters, sons, uncles, aunts. Just how do you, blend in when you come together as a family and making it work? So let's just hear some ideas of how did it work out for you guys.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and kick it off. Hey y'all, this is Dominique, I'm back. So today we're going to talk about blended families and pretty much, not just your intimate family, like, stepmom, stepdad, kids and things like that, but just, transitioning into the space of getting to know your significant other and, their family and how that works. So I'm going to first start off with blended families from a perspective of a child. My mom got married when I was 12 and my stepdad already had a daughter. And so that was a different space for me because I'm the only child. So, I'm used to having my own, my own space, getting what I want. I don't got to share nothing because it's mine. And she didn't live with us right away. So over time, she decided that she was going to come live with us. And I don't think I struggle with the sharing or this is mine and that's yours. I think I struggle more so with, I guess, being present all the time and her having a different perspective of,
Right.
Who her dad was and who he was for her versus who he was for me because I lived with him.
Right.
And she stayed in, another state with her mom at the time. So, when it came to it and, when we had to actually be in the house together, it was a weird space because it was like, for me, and parents, I'm pretty sure y'all listening, but, it's true. I felt like there was a lot of overcompensation with the parents because she was out for a while before she actually came and lived with us. So it was rough, but I always wanted a sibling. And I have siblings, bless you. I had siblings, but they were on my dad's side. So, I didn't really get to see them as often. But as far as, like, my stepsister and just being there and trying to coexist. And we were very different. Our upbringing was different. And, I think our parents had to work at it, too, because it's like they are,
Right, because now you got somebody else disciplining you.
Right,
That's not your biological
That's not
parent.
your biological. What do you do? How do you approach certain situations without stepping on toes or being disrespectful or out of line? And so, I think that was a different space for me. To the point we would sit down and have, like, family interventions about how everybody's feeling. And I'm not the most what's the word I want to use? I don't
compromising.
No, not that. More so, it's like get over it. That's my attitude, and not and not to discredit anybody in their feelings, but for me, it's like we're here now. We gotta figure something.
Make
out.
it work.
Yeah, let's just make it work. So we're not gonna have this pity party.
Right. I get what you're saying. Like, why do we have to sit down and do this every week, every month, and whatever? I mean, we're a family. Let's get over it. It is what it is.
Yeah, let's fix it. Let's just be
make it natural.
Right.
Make it natural. Don't make it so plain.
Right.
And I think that a lot of families that blend and come together, especially when there's children involved, I think that's one of the things that hurt it because they don't let it happen naturally. They try to, I got to be careful with this child because I'm not the biological parent. But once you come together, is you're that person's parent. Right. At least while they're in their household, if they're sharing two households, or when they're in your household, you're their parent.
Right.
And you do what a parent do. You just because they over mom or dad house and get away with something, okay, we don't do that in this household.
Right.
And they have to understand that, and I think you have to let that be so transparent and let it happen naturally instead of seeing like it's so programmed. Because it was like when Dorshell and I got, it was so funny because I heard you say 12 years old. When we met, her youngest was 12, and that's Sierra. And I always took Sierra on like a daughter, you know. I have 3 children of my own as well that, you know, I had to bring into the network of blended, but my children were grown. So in that perspective, when you come together as a blended family and you're already grown, it's kind of a little tougher because it's just like you can't treat them as children, you got to treat them as adults. And sometimes that can be very hard because by then they got their own mind made up, they're doing their own thing. And, you know, there's certain things they're not going to allow you to say to them or do to them. And some of them, once they get that old, you know, they sit back and sometimes think, well, they try to pick the person for you. You know, it's just like, okay, that's my dad, I love him, I don't think you're the person for him. Or that's my mom, I don't think you're the person for her. Well, it's not up to you. Right.
Yeah. And I think, too, as a child, you have to be receptive. And that was one of my things. You know, I understood that this is my mom's husband. I'm going to respect him in the position that he's now in. I love my dad wholeheartedly, but I'm still going to show this man the respect because he's coming in and he's providing for me and he's present. And I'm going to respect that on the behalf of him stepping up. And also being my mother's husband. You know, it's a respect thing for me. And so I feel like as a child, you still have to be receptive too. Because, you know, you'll have that war, you know, between the kids and the step parent and they don't want to listen. And, you know, it's just, I was not that person. I didn't go through that. I didn't talk back. I did none of that. And so, yeah, I feel like both sides have to be receiving.
Well, like with me in a blended family, when I talk about blended family, me coming up as a child, my family was, I honestly did not know that my stepfather was not my biological father until I got about 18 years old, because we were that blended. You know, I had two older brothers, 2 younger brothers, and a younger sister. So it was 6 of us. So it was 5 boys and 1 girl, and we had to blend all together. And my 2 oldest brother had a different father than I did. My 2 youngest brother and my sister had a different father than I did. But we had to function as a family, you know. Right. And till this day, you know, like, you know how people say, "Oh, that's my stepbrother." No, we brothers and sisters. We you know, we came from the same womb. We brothers and sisters, you know. Right. And we function as so. You know, we had our ups, downs, highs, lows in between. And, you know, the man that married my mother was there as a father, and he was the only father figure that we knew, you know, so he was our dad. And sometimes, you know, that when you talk about blended families, whether it's the man or the woman, that sometimes they come in and care more about you than your biological parents do, you know. Right. And, you know, when that comes on, sometimes you just automatically take that attraction that I'm going to call this my parent. These are my parents. Right. You know what I mean?
And I feel like that's the energy too, because at the end of the day, you have to be willing and open to receiving that child so they feel that. Because you can go years and years and never feel that. You know, it can never go from, oh, this is my mom or my dad's husband or wife or whatever, to, oh, this is my dad. It's a space that the parent has to now create for you. They have to be receiving as well. And, you know, it's a task. It's a task. I'm going to be honest. It's a task, you know.
Well, how did your mom help you make the adjustment because he was your stepfather? She married him. How did she help you to overcome some of the things that you were going through at the time? Or you had to get to know him. How did she help you make that blend?
Well, honestly, to be honest, I don't think it really started until my older life. Okay. So at 12, because I already knew my stepdad before he was my stepdad. Okay. I knew his daughter already. Like, we knew each other. So it wasn't like oh my God, I don't know you, but now I have to know you
from a different perspective.
Yeah. Now, as far as understanding, I think once my stepsister came and she moved with us, I think that was the point of me trying to understand and actually talking to my mom and telling her certain things and, having him understand from my perspective. Because it's like, as parents, we only see how we see it. We can't see how our child is going through it or how they're feeling it. And so when I'm having these conversations, I'm like, this is how I feel. I know I'm grown now,
right,
but this is how I feel. I want to, I want to be here. I want to feel the love, and I want to feel accepted, and I want to feel that.
And I guess that got to be kind of hard, being that, hey, I was the only one at one time. Now I got to share this space with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I know that can be probably a heavy load for a child.
Yeah, for sure.
And coming into a blended family.
Yeah, and then trying to do that as an adult. So now we were together as teenagers. I was a senior in high school, and my stepsister was a freshman in college. So we were the same age, pretty much.
Right.
And so, that was my best friend.
Right.
And that's that's like that's the beauty about a blended family, because once the acceptance come, then like you said, that became my best friend.
Right.
It's just like I used to have conversation with people, and I know I had a conversation with Dorshell one time, and I was like, that when you really sit back and think about it, your siblings know more about you than your parents know about you. You share things with them that you won't even never ever share with your parents.
Right.
And that's what makes it so great when you have a space where you got a sibling that you can share so much with, and they become understanding of it, whether they blood or not, whether they step brother, step sister, but you build that bond with them, and you get to a point in life you like, that's my sister, that's my brother.
Right.
The step part leave because you built that bond with them.
Right.
And sometimes I know with a blended family, some parents try to force feed it. They try to force feed that thing, and I think that's what makes like the children bitter towards each other, because one feel like, hey, one's getting more than the other, and things like that. And with most parents, there's always a favorite. Not that they don't love, their other kids, but there's always one that's a favorite, And when you sitting back and you're looking at that blended family, and like I said, if you was the single child for so long, now I got to share my space with somebody. And now I'm a parent. I'm trying to figure out, how do I let this child know I still love them the same, but I got to share space now. I got to share space. I got to treat this child a certain way. I got to treat my child a certain way. This man has to respect my child, respect me. So a blended family is tough if you're not open-minded, I would say.
Right.
Because not only being a parent sometimes is that you're being the best parent you can, and your kids rebel against you, for like, why'd you marry him, or why'd you get with them? And you're like, hey, this is my life, but you're part of that life, because like you said, at 12 years old, you can't go off and live by yourself. Now, when you get grown and you don't like the situation, you're like, I'm out of here. Right. You know what I mean? Because you have that choice.
Right.
So it has its ups and downs. It's just like, like with our blended family, like we got grandkids involved now, and the one thing about it, my granddaughter, I only have one granddaughter. And, I FaceTime or whatever, and she calls Dorshell Miss D every time she say, hey, Miss D, but that's her way of still saying, like, it's almost like you're my grandmother. You're Miss D, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, that kind of stuff that you sit back and look at, and you're like, okay, I'm going to allow them to find their own space.
Right.
How to deal with this person, So that's the good thing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I can... and I think not even that. So you go from, okay, this is the immediate section, but then when you're trying to meet everybody else.
Yeah.
Now I feel like that's the tricky part, in my opinion. Now I've never had any issues with any of my in-laws, we gonna say. But I'm not gonna lie, I had it rough this time around. In the current relationship, I had it rough this time around.
With the in-laws, or
with the in-laws.
Is it now? Usually when you have it rough with the in-laws, it's because they feel like, why you guys living together and you're not married, or why this is not going to. It's like sometimes they take the things that they've been through in life and try to put it upon you, and you're like, hey man, I'm living this is the way we're living life, and it worked for us,
right?
And especially when you have, I'll call them those churchy parents. Oh my gracious! Then you really got some bad in-laws. What I mean? I'm not going to say bad in-laws, but you got in-laws just domineering and controlling. Because you're their child, or that's their child, and they're like, okay, well, y'all need to do it this way.
Right.
Well, if like some parents, or if you can't marry her, then you know what? You don't need to be with my daughter, or you can't marry him or do this. You don't need to be with my son. So it makes it tough when it comes to in-laws. You know,
and I feel like too. Now, yes, it was y'all, you living together, you're not married, and I get that. But then on the flip side, it was like on the other side of that, it was like, why? It was a lot of judgment. And, you have to get to know people. And that was more so what I experienced. It was the judgment of who people thought I was because of what they saw, not what they knew.
Perception.
Yeah, you see my Instagram and you see my TikTok, and yes, I am that person, but I'm also a whole nother person when you actually get to know me.
Right.
So if you're looking at me to judge me, and you're looking at my situation, then that's on you. I can, but get to know me first.
Right.
You may not understand why your child picked the person that they picked. That's not for you to understand.
Exactly.
You just gotta accept it, or you don't accept it, and then whatever you decide, that you have to deal with what comes with what you decide. If you accept it, okay, cool, welcome. But if you don't, just know that now it's a rift between the two. So pick your battles wisely. That's how I feel.
Well, it's just like I always told my children this. I said, I don't tell you who to love or who to be in love with. You're not going to sit up here and tell me who to love or who be. Because I didn't seen transition that you run home and say, oh, I love and care about this person. This is my boyfriend. We had the greatest bond and this and that and other. And then a year down the road, you telling me y'all ain't together and you dating somebody else, Right. So the perception, like you say, you walk in, you this person, you dress a certain way, you act a certain way, and they just basing stuff off of perception and never have actually sat down and had a conversation with you. And I think that's what destroys a lot of blended families, because a lot is assumptions, or people feel like, well, you should do this the way we see for you to do it, and I'm like, no, we're not doing it that way.
Right. Exactly. And and people have I think you should be with this person, and why are you doing this? And for me, my parents don't get into that. They don't say nothing. This, you happy? Are you safe? Okay, cool.
Right.
Do your thing. Figure it out. That's for you to do.
Right. Because like with me right now, I'm in a position. There's some things that go on in my blended family. With my children, I'd be like, I don't like it, but what I'm gonna say, they grown. You know what I mean? I could sit back and say, well, hey, I think you could do this better. I could think you do. But as a parent and as a father, when I see that you're upset about something, but yet you're still in that same situation, what more can I say? I just have to sit back and be silent and hope that it, that it pans out for the best, and not try to tell you what you should do, because that's one thing that I feel like I'm not going to sit back, and if you're happy with that person, I'm always going to want you to do the right thing. I'm going to always want you to do the godly thing. You know what I mean? But sometimes people do it in their time, because we all can sit back with blended families. Our parents telling us, but what did y'all do when y'all was coming along? You know what I mean? So it's just like people forget about what they did and how they went through their transition, and they might have went through some of the things that I'm going through, the judgment, the I don't want you with this person, or I don't want you with that person, So they've been through some of the same things, and they give some of their viewpoints based upon what they've been through. But you know what, this guy's a different guy than what you got. Right. This woman's a different woman than what you have, you know. The world has changed and evolved, you know.
Mm-hmm. And it's, at the end of the day, it's everybody's life to live on their own.
Right.
You know, and you know, as a parent, I know mine is only 4, but even when I'm thinking about her future, I'm like, I know what I've been through. I don't want you to make the same mistakes, but I'm never going to tell you who to be with. Right. You know, some people, they already got, listen, when you turn 12, when you turn 15, you're going to marry, you know, this one right here. Y'all going to go and we're going to buy y'all a house. And, y'all, you know, they already got it set up. And, you know, the kids is young. They already got their life set up for them.
Yeah, and
the arrangement.
And touching on that, that's what I was going to touch on. Because in a lot of foreign countries, they do arranged marriages. Mm-hmm. You know, that's like far-fetched here in the United States. And often, you know, statistics say that works out better because of the arrangement, because you know those people family, those people get to know your family. Mm-hmm. A lot in America, we just get with people, and sometimes like Dorshell and I have experienced that our children have got with people, and we like, well, when are we going to meet them? Well, I don't think it's a good time right now. I don't think it's a good time. But when is a good time? Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, we're not here to judge the person, but I think that when you get bringing somebody in your life and they have the capabilities of becoming part of this family or part of this network, we need to know how they function. We need to know who they are. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, you could be dealing with somebody that got a heck of a past and they hiding it from you, and I might see it, or your mama might see it, or who knows, you know. Everybody has to deal with it on their own terms. Right. But like you say, I'm never going to say, well, I don't want you, I'm just going to tell you or share with you to make some good decisions, you know. Right. And how do you feel about that, Ms. Clark, you know, when you come into a blended situation, about how do you feel like getting to know the family as far as the mother, the father, the brothers, the sisters? How do you feel like you should be able to network with them?
I think when we first met, you took me to Baltimore and got a chance to meet everybody. And I think that once they meet us, or get, like you said, Dominique, get to know you, not just on face value or what they see on Instagram or your social outlet, but just to really get to know who you are, you know, and then make their judgment from there. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Right. You know, it doesn't really matter.
And I agree with that, because when the bottom line is that no matter how our family becomes blended, the bottom line, I have to spend my life with this person, you know, and you know, it's just like anything else. It's just like when you got family and friends. Well, some of my friends you're gonna like, some of them you're not, but that's not for me to befriend them because you don't like them. It's just that, okay, I'm going to be with these people. You know what? You know, you do whatever you're going to do that day, or you know what? I don't get along with your parents too well. You know what I mean? So if you're going to see your parents, you go over there and have a nice time, and I'll figure out something else to do. And, you know, I think that if you can come down to that understanding and not say, well, you know what, every time I go to my parents' house, you never want to go. But you also understand it don't work too good for us, because when we go to your parents' house, it don't work out for us. You know what I mean? Because that situation can cause conflict between you and I.
Right, yeah. And that, I mean, that's definitely knowing your partner and knowing the situation at hand. It's like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea. Yeah. You know, it's just, you go, like you said, you go and enjoy, and I'm going to stay here, because I don't want to go over there and be fake. I don't want to go over there and somebody say the wrong thing. I don't want to go over there and offend nobody. I don't want to be offended. I don't feel like being judged. I'm going to stay here.
Exactly.
I'm going to see you when you come back.
And I totally agree with that, because, you know, I think just, you know, when you talk about perception and stuff like that, and then you going around somebody and pretending. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. You know, they already feel like, okay, you're not the person, and then they send back, oh, they're being phony. They're not being real. Well, okay, I can show you how real I am. I just won't come. Right. Not that I disrespect you, or not that I don't even love or like you. I just don't like the dynamics of chaos. I don't like that dynamic when we get involved, because you always going to see something that I should be doing, you know, and maybe I'm not in that place right now to be doing what you think that I should be doing. So sometimes that's what makes it so hard to for families to blend, because when you said a mouthful like that because you come from two different backgrounds. First of all,
right.
Well, my background, I'm used to doing this and doing that. I didn't have to answer to nobody. Now I get in a situation with you, and they want to know every move we make. I'm not that person. I'm not going to sit back and tell you every move we make. I don't have to tell you what we're doing and everything. Well, because some people are like, why didn't you let us know this? Because it wasn't for you to know. You know what I mean? So,
And I think that's a per family, the dynamic that was already there, like you said. Then you have these different dynamics where you have one family, they're really close knit. You have those, they want to do stuff together and they talk to each other, and then you got another family that's completely the opposite.
Right.
They're not really close knit. The value of family is different. So now you're trying to merge them two, and it can put you in a weird space too. For me, I'm very family oriented. I love my family.
I've heard that. That.
I want to be with them all the time. If we could all just live in one big house, I would be the happiest person in the world, which we have. And I enjoy that. But that is how I've always been raised. I say, I like the Mexican style. Everybody live in one big house, and it's a party every day. That's how we.
And you know what? You say that, but that's the way, especially with our community of black people. That's the way it used to be. Like we used to all live in the same house. I mean, we came from, like, if you talk to older black people, they'll tell you it was 10 of us in a house. And at that, it was 10 of us sharing one bedroom, Right. I mean, I know, like, for me coming up, like I said, it was 5 boys and one girl. My sister had her own room. We had one room that 5 people had to figure out how to, exist in one room. You know what I mean? You had one at the bottom of the bed, one at the top of the bed, And because it was a 5, one bed had two people at the top or 2 beds at the bottom. But you had to figure it out, you know what I mean? So that was the funny part of it.
Right.
Because you had to figure it out. And you realize that now your uncle come with their kids. And guess what? It still ain't but those 3 rooms. The room your parents was in, the room that your sister in, and the room y'all shit. So when the boys came, they had to pile up in that room with us.
Right.
If they had a daughter or something, they went in the room with my, or if you didn't want to do that, you took and put a blanket on, put a pallet, and you slept. That's the way it was.
Right.
But it made so much, it made a blended family really come together, And like you say, blended family just don't have to be children. It's uncles, aunts, cousins, because like we always, I mean, even though it was 6 of us, we always had cousins or something. So you got to realize this. You got 6 children, right? Out of those 6 children, everybody got a friend.
Right.
So if everybody bring a friend, you got 12 kids running around in your house. If everybody bring a friend, you know what I mean? And then, even coming up, depending on what kind of neighborhood you brought, your friends became part of your blended family, Because my mother used to feed the whole neighborhood. When they like Miss Lewiston cooked a pot of spaghetti, everybody was at our house, And I think that sometimes we need to bring that back.
Yeah,
I think we need to bring that back because it's so crazy that when I look at the world today, you can have somebody live in a 35,000 square foot house. But yet they won't let their family come. No, you can't say, well, you're going to be here how long? Get a hotel. I'd be like,
and even that, even with that being said, you don't even know your neighbors.
Right.
If you have any. Because remember, back in the day, you knew who stayed across the street, and you knew everybody on the block.
Everybody knew you.
And you were a family. So the family, the word family meant something different. You are blending different people. These not even blood. These are people down the street. Oh, and they family, and they know your family, and y'all riding bikes, and it was different community. It was more community.
Right. You go down a block down the street. That's Dominique. That's Audrey's daughter right there. They knew.
They knew.
Right. It's just like Dorshell said when she first went to Baltimore with me. I like had to kind of. I said, Dorshell, when we go to Baltimore, I'm telling you. We don't stay in hotels and stuff. Our family was so blended together, about if you came to a visit and you went and got yourself a hotel, so now you done got bougie on us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they be like, no, you done got bougie. You can't stay here. You know what I mean? And I used to tell Dorshell, I said, Dorshell, we stay at family house. We don't get hotels, you know. But that was just like her coming from a different situation I did, because she was like, when we go out of town, we get hotels, you know. And I was like, we don't do that.
Right.
We don't get no hotel.
Right. No, I mean, I understand now. It's some family member's house I'm going to. I'm getting a hotel. I don't want to stay at the house. I don't love them to death, but I know I'm not staying there.
Yeah.
Now, some of them, I go to Albany to my aunt's house. Oh yeah, you cook me some food. You know I'm coming. You got my bed ready. I'm coming, and that's how it's always been.
Right.
So, I mean, I get that from both sides. You know, I think I'm going to say it's certain family members I would have to go get a hotel for. But others are more, I personally want to go there.
Right.
And stay.
Well, because like I said, our family's so deep that when we go there, you know, and like I said, we got groomed from childhood to, hey, man, we all pile up in the same house. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, certain people house, I'm go there and visit, hey, how y'all doing, and I'm leaving.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But we're going somewhere that the comfortability is there to stay.
Okay.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we're not actually going to a hotel. You know what I mean? You know, so
yeah. And I mean, I can understand that too, because I know in certain instances it's like, you know, I want my space. Like, we could go to see the family, but I also want my space too.
Right.
And I get that respectfully, because what if I feel like I'm getting them out of town vibes and I don't want everybody in the house to hear? You know, I can't do it. And auntie's sitting next door and the cousins don't sleeping on the floor. I can't be who I need to be if I got to do that. Now, you know, you never know. You never know what the situation called for. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I like with our blended family, you can always keep it 100. If you want to argue, fuss, cuss, or something, that's what it is. It is what it is. You know.
Yeah.
You know. So you know, it's thing, but you know, just bringing people together nowadays. You know, and like you know. A lot of us now in today's society, we create our own family because, like you say, you don't know your cousins, you don't know your neighbors, you don't know people, you know, that's close by and closer. I mean, we used to go and borrow sugar from the neighbors. You're not going to borrow sugar from a neighbor nowadays.
Right. You may not never see the neighbors. Y'all be living over there.
You go borrow some sugar and they getting you cyanide or fentanyl. I'm taking the whole family out. You know what I mean?
You know, it's a different time. You know, but I feel like sometimes nowadays you see more where families coming together when somebody died, opposed to coming together on a regular. Let's have a family reunion. I can't even tell you the last time I had a family reunion.
I don't know the last time. We did go to Dorshell father's family reunion, and you know, meet you know, all the aunts and uncles. They knew her, and you know what I mean. You know, and you know, introducing me and stuff like that. So, you know, but I can go somewhere and just blend in. You know, I can go somewhere and just, if you introduce me, this is my cousin so and so. You know, I might strike up a conversation with me and so. They're talking the whole time. You know, and then you know, it's just like, I just think when you in that blended situation, you got 100% be you. Because I think that if you don't be you 100% of being you, that if you put on the act or if you settle for this or settle, that's going to be their expectations of you. So it's just like, okay, well, they really doing something I don't like. But I'm going to just be cool and this and that and other. No, you can tell them in a roundabout way, nah, I don't get down like that, you know, or something like that. And not only that, your other half have to be able to say, you know what, y'all need to ease up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
y'all
for
need
sure.
to ease up.
For
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because they live with you every day. They got to go home with you every day. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's a hard thing, blending the family, bringing people together, because like I said, some people going to like you, some people not. One child might like you, the other child might not, you know. So you know, but you'll figure it out. You'll figure it all out, you know.
Right. I agree. I agree. But I love family. I love it.
I love it. Well, that's Miss Family right there. She loves family. Dorshell loves family.
Yep, representing for Atlanta today. Got my Atlanta hat on. ATL all day.
So, she loves her family. I can honestly say, and the doors have been open. I'm welcome, and like I say, I go in and I just fit in. You know what I mean? I find my place. If I knock on the door, if you knock on the door, I can walk in. If they open it, I'll walk in and I'll find my place. So that's the thing. Yeah. So just having a blended family can be a wonderful thing.
Right.
And you just have to find your space. You have to find out, where you fit in, what's not working. And when you come and there's children involved, where they fit in, because, sometimes when you have that blended family and you have those children that are coming into that situation and the parents don't get along, that make it tough for the children because then the children start playing both sides of the fence,
Right.
So you got to be careful of that as well,
Yeah, for sure. And if it is, if you do have the moms or the dads, the biologicals, I feel like be mature, and be able to have conversations and sit down, because that helps too.
Yeah, because I totally agree. You have to make them part of the family.
Yeah, you do. I mean, because y'all family now,
right.
Like that show that they had a while ago, some years ago. All of us, and Lisa Ray played on it, and she would just come in, and her and the wife, they was just friends. And I've always said, if I had to blend my family, I pray that it's something like that. Now, unfortunately, it didn't go that way,
right.
But I prayed for something like that if it came to it, because I wanted to be able to have that rapport where I could say, hey, Susie, I'm dropping Carter off, or can you pick her up because I got an appointment to go to, and she could say okay, and we can work together. Tell her dad I'll pick her up, or if y'all can drop her off. Like having that type of relationship, and I know that's it's not unrealistic, but I
think it's possible.
Well, it's possible. You see it in my situation. In my situation, like I have 3 children by 3 different women, right? They call all the children their children. You know what I mean? They talk to each other. They will, if you call one and say, "Can you do this?" They go do it. I mean, but it had to get to that point. It was war at first, but then we got to that point. It's just like you say, it's come to a point of maturity. So once you get to that point of maturity, because the realization when you bring that blended family together and there's children involved, guess what? I'm not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. Why we got to make this tougher than what it has to be? You know what I mean? You because then it becomes about I don't it's not about whether you like me or not, it's about you respecting me. So if you make them children understand, hey, no matter what, this is the person I'm with, you have to respect them. Or if it's something that the children don't like, hey, well, you got to deal with this. You know what I mean? And we got to come together and we talk about it.
Right.
But it has to be a place of maturity. But I know that it do work. I know that it can be to where if there's 2 different parents in a different household, that they can come together and work. I mean, I'll give you a true instance. Like my son, the gentleman that was with his mother, one Father's Day, I called him up. I said, look, man, I appreciate what you do, man. Because you know what? My son living under his roof. You know what I mean? Because he was with his mother. So my son lived under, but him and I, get on the phone. We'll talk about sports or whatever. It was no lines of disrespect or anything like that. You know what I mean? But it can get to that point. And I just think that's a mindset and it's maturity.
And that space of being honest with yourself. Because I think a lot of that comes from unfinished business, or I still feel a way, or I'm still hurt, or I'm still in love, and y'all haven't gotten to that point yet. Because one may and one may not, but it's like when y'all are trying to come together, and y'all have already made the decision that it's over with, and y'all are going to see other people. You have to be able to sit down and talk about it. And I feel like, especially when you were talking about reprimanding children or disciplining them, I feel like that's the topic that you need to sit down and talk about.
Oh, no question.
That's not because they're with me, they can do this. No. I feel like if that's what they're going to do, we need to sit down and we need to have a discussion.
Right.
Because this is my child. That's not their child.
Right.
You know what I mean? Respectfully respect me as the parent and vice versa. You can't. You know,
right.
You know? Because kids are going to talk. And so you can now you're creating problems when you can't be adults and talk about things.
Yeah, because I think that when you're in a blended family and it comes to that harsh disciplining, and if you are not the biological parents, I think that you do have to have that discussion of what that limitation is, or how hard you can go in on that child. Because what happens is you can build, that child can build up a total disrespect for you, because it's not necessarily you may be disciplining them all the time, but it's how you discipline them. So and then if they feel like, well, mommy not protecting me or daddy not protecting me, then it's a problem. You know what I mean? So I totally agree with you that I think that you have to have that conversation, especially when you have young children. Hey, I'm the biological mother. I'm not saying you can't discipline them, because sometimes you might be in this house with them by yourself. So it becomes, like I said, it becomes about a respect, that you have to respect me. You know, you don't have to like me, but you got to respect me. You know, but I know that the limitations is I can't pull off my belt and spank them or beat them, whichever terminology you want to use. But you have to say, okay, if it comes to the point of striking my child, you don't want to do that. You leave that up to me. You know what I mean? But we're gonna get on a point that we will correct whatever's wrong. But this is your limitations,
right?
And I think that has to be totally understood coming into it.
I definitely agree.
Because people come, like I say, people come from different backgrounds,
right?
You know, and when people come from different backgrounds, people have different ways of discipline. You know, and especially if you're dealing with older people that's old fashioned, they believe in that. You know, spare the rod, spoil the child. You know what I mean?
Go out there and get that switch.
You know what I mean? So yeah, you have to have boundaries. No doubt. You have to have boundaries. But it's just like I said. In bringing a blended family together, you have to have your guidelines in order. You have to understand that it may be brothers, sisters, uncle, aunts, stepmamas, stepdaddies. You might have to create your own blended family. But understanding that it has to break down to all about love, just loving one another and getting along with one another, and making it a great situation, making it to the point that everybody has an understanding of what goes on in these situations, and whether the children are young or old, but at each level you learn how to deal with the situation of becoming a blended family. So in all that saying that, we want to thank y'all guys again for listening to People Think About It. You can listen to us on our PAR page at peoplethinkaboutit.com. You can contact us on the PAR page if you want to be a guest. If you want to talk about a certain subject that you want us to reach out and talk about, you can do that also. You can also reach us at peoplethinkaboutit@gmail.com. We on all social media sites, Instagram, Facebook, and we want to just thank y'all for listening and touching on different stuff. Hey, but I'm going to tell you what, next week really listening is going to get deep. All right, thank you for listening to People Think About It. We welcome y'all to listen.